we shall not be moved. The Union is behind us, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's standing by the water, we shall not be moved.
Most stories about unions begin with strikes. This one is about a strike and a victory. We live in Morenci, Arizona, a copper mining town in the mountains 250 miles east of Phoenix. We all work for PD, the Phelps Dodge Corporation, mining, milling, and smelting copper ore. The Morenci open pit is the second largest in the country. Copper has been mined here since 1860, first underground, and then in 1937, the open pit was started. It grew bigger fast with an initial investment by PD of $28 million, later matched by the government when war came. 95% of us in our union, Local 616 of Mine Mill, voted to strike for better wages and a real health plan.
In El Paso, Texas, we miners in Local 501 also work for PD, Phelps Dodge. Refining the copper our Morenci brothers mine, mill, and smelt. We are on strike, too. Our picket lines are smaller, because in Texas a law was passed which prohibits more than 2 pickets. In Los Angeles, California, PD fabricates the refined copper into finished products, copper rod and tubing. Mine Mill Local 700 voted to hit the bricks, too. Copper is selling high, and we determined to get a decent wage increase, which we missed out on in '54. Then we were fighting off a raid by another union, which legally prevented us from negotiating on our local demands. As usual, only the company profited from one union trying to raid another.
Here in the Southwest, Phelps Dodge is only one of 3 big mining combines. Kennecott Copper Corporation owns and runs this open pit in Ray, Sonora, Arizona. The electric shovels and rotary drills are steel. The churn drills and the trucks are steel. Nothing is moving, only the people. In Sonora, some of us face the hardship of the strike while working at the unhappy task of tearing down our homes, which are on company ground to make way for an expansion of the mine. These sidewalk superintendents are too young to wonder if their homes will be next. All these houses are built on company ground, so there isn't much point to shining them up. We never know when we might get a 30-day notice from the company to tear them down. We keep paying ground rent to the company, and we keep hoping we can stay put. Our union hall is located in the town of Ray, across the open pit from Sonora. Looks like all the members of the strike committee made it this morning. Qué suave se la están pasando, muchachos. Ustedes que entran al trabajo a las 7, ¿no?
"20 miles away in Hayden, Arizona, is the Kennecott smelter, where ore from the Ray, Sonora open pit is shipped by company train. When we are not on picket duty, we stop by our union office to find out about any new developments in our negotiations with Kennecott. No copper bars are coming out of the Hayden smelter. The reason is obvious: the joint picket line with AFL Metal Trades. And you can't beat union solidarity.
In New Mexico, the Kennecott Corporation mines, mills and smelts ore from the Santa Rita open pit. Santa Rita is the site of the first underground metal mining in the West. It was discovered in 1800 and was once considered the largest open pit mine in America. Ore was at one time transported from this mine on mules all the way to Mexico City. Right now, we aren't transporting ore by mules, trucks, or trains. Local 890 has had more than its share of struggle, and it has always come out on top. The Kennecott mine mill and smelter workers have developed real labor unity with fellow workers in other unions. We cooperate to such an extent that we are now conducting joint negotiations with the company. On the wall are still photographs of my famous movie, La Sal de la Tierra, based on the courage of our militant ladies' auxiliary. Mujeres que son mujeres, pero mujeres. Our strike strategy committee is composed of the leaders of Local 890, Metal Trades Council, pipe fitters, electricians, carpenters, office workers, machinists, firemen, and engineers. When miners and railroaders get together, they tell tall tales. These railroad brothers are respecting our picket lines.
Good morning, Mr. Railroad Man. What time do your trains roll by? At 9:16 and 2:44 and 25 minutes till 5.
In El Paso, Texas, we got a picket station right across from the railroad entrance to AS&R, the American Smelting and Refining Company. These railroad brothers just got off their train to talk to our mine mill leaders about our strike. They're respecting our picket lines by not running Southern Pacific trains into the smelter yard. Brother Aranda, president of our local 509, is telling about our health and welfare demands. This SB brother must be listening pretty hard. He rolled a camel. See the hump?
Our mine mill strike in the Southwest is solid, and the three big companies, Phelps Dodge, Kennecott, and AS&R know it. No one local is alone in this struggle. We are all pulling together from mine to market.
Morenci miners are determined to hold this line. We need a wage increase and a good medical plan, enough to strike for them. The town of Morenci is on the south side of the open pit. It lies on the old Coronado Trail, named for the Spanish explorer who came this way in 1540, looking for the legendary treasure of the 7 cities of Cibola. He didn't pause long enough to find our treasure, or to see the 7 hills that the town of Morenci covers. In the days of underground mining, many men went in and out of this old joy shaft in the center of Morenci. Close by is the Union's Hall where these AFL brothers hold their meetings. They are all respecting our picket lines. The company store. Here we buy all our commodities with company script deducted from our wages. The company hospital, the only hospital in Greeley County. It costs us very much to bring our families here, but our health and welfare demands will change this. 6 miles down the canyon from Morenci is the city of Clifton, the county seat, with a population of 7,000, about the same size as Morenci. Clifton has its own city government, unlike Morenci, which is a company town. Our Union Hall is here on Chase Creek Street. The mayor of Clifton, Henry Marcus, is also full-time executive secretary of our local. Brother Marcus has just come back from a contract negotiating session with PD in Douglas. The 3 PD locals in Arizona, Morenci, Bisbee, and Douglas, negotiate jointly with the company. We are all anxious to hear what happened in the negotiations. Inside the Union Hall, committees are working to make this a successful strike. The chief duty of the press committee is turning out a daily strike bulletin, which contains the latest strike news and, most popular, the menu of the day, the food the latest auxiliary will prepare for the picket line. The Public Relations Committee is busy checking over the list of local businessmen who have made contributions to our strike fund. During a strike, a lot of hidden talent is discovered. Some brothers even turn out to be good sign painters. Brother Marcus has been telling me and Brother Ross, our international rep, some of the highlights of the sessions in Douglas. Last year, Brother Marcus ran for state senator from our county. He almost made it, too. Maybe next time. Tonight, we're a regular meeting, so Brother Ross and I go out to the Reduction Works picket post to let the boys know what has been going on in Douglas. The company says that our health coverage is adequate, but they agreed finally to include penicillin shots in the medical plan. They still insist that to meet our demands, they will have to triple our monthly contributions. That's just pura madera. So we're still deadlocked on that issue. Our most important strike committee is the kitchen committee. Every day they make hot lunches and dinners for the pickets. The expense of the meals is paid by the contributions to our strike fund. Most of the time they manage to keep the cost down to about 17 cents per lunch. In the Southwest, we eat a lot of tortillas. They are the spoon that we eat with. Saves a lot of silverware. We have talked about giving Josie Apodaca a medal for being the fastest tortilla maker in Morenci. The nicest chore of a picket captain is picking up the food. That sign in the window says, "No men allowed except on business." This is the only time they can get in the kitchen. So there are always plenty of volunteers. The men at the Reduction Works line are pretty hungry now, and they shape up fast to get at that chow. Looks like a favorite lunch today, chili con carne and tortillas. During this strike, soda pop has become pretty popular with all our beer drinkers. When we take our lunches to work, there are no seconds. But one advantage to a picket line is you can come back for more. The locomotive yard lies still in the hot noon sun. Usually on a day like this, the pit is full of men and the noise of the machines. Usually, on a day like this, we will lift over 100,000 tons of muck out of this pit, but no sound comes from the diesel electrics or from the steam hooks. At the picket line, up on the edge of the pit, there's plenty of food for everyone. That rag wrapped around Brother Martinez's head makes him look like a real chef. Watch it, Brother Herrera. That tortilla is hot. The service and the food are fine, and the companionship is good. And everybody has a full stomach and wishes he could take a little siesta. The ruins of Metcalf, an old ghost town, lie 2 miles north of the open pit. The Coronado, the Santa Rosa, and the Shannon copper mines closed down about 1921 when they ran out of high-grade ore. Most of the miners who lived here moved over to Morenci and Clifton, but sometimes old-timers, like Brothers Madrid, Sandoval, and Verdugo, come back to visit. They remember the good times they had in this old saloon. It was called the 3 Bs. after its owners. But the man had another interpretation for those initials. Buenas, bonitas, y baratas. Good, pretty, and inexpensive. They used to have real-life turkey shoots behind the 3Bs, and a pit for cockfighting, and a place to play handball. Sometimes the old-timers linger over the names of friends they once knew. This monument reads, "The bodies of persons buried in this old Metcalf cemetery, which laid approximately 1,600 feet southwest of this point, have been removed to what is known as Metcalf Cemetery, relocated. Waste materials from PD's open pit have to go somewhere. These mountains of rock and dirt finally reached out and covered up the old Metcalf Cemetery. Sooner or later, PD will reclaim the ore left in this waste through the leaching process. A very inexpensive and profitable operation." Along the road back to Morenci, you can see the hills of waste material covering the old railroad which used to haul the ores from the Metcalf mines. On the south side of the open pit is another cemetery. We call it the Old Cemetery. The waste material has not spread yet to this side, but no bodies are being buried here anymore. Aquí descansan los restos de Luciano Ramírez, el que fue víctima de una traición esquirola en la huelga de Morenci, noviembre 15, 1915. Here lies the remains of Luciano Ramírez, who was a victim of a treacherous scab during the strike in Morenci, November 15, 1915. There were scabs then, and there are scabs now. The company still tries to get scabs across our picket lines. The company keeps sending the scabs, and we keep turning them away with our strength and solidarity. No scabs have gotten through our lines during this strike. This is the Phelps Dodge Reduction Works, where we separate the metal from the ore we dig out on the open pit. There is the bedding plant, where they dry the ore concentrate. You can see the smelter stack behind it. The supply department and the machine shop, the powerhouse with its 3 stacks. It supplies power for the plant as well as for Morenci and Clifton. It runs on waste heat from the smelter, but the townspeople have to pay a high rate per kilowatt. The concentrator, the mill, the secondary crusher, and the primary crusher. This plant processes 60,000 tons of copper ore a day, but it can't run without workers. Tonight, the Ladies Auxiliary are swearing in new members. Some miners' wives had not joined until the strike. The officers, Mrs. Marcus, Mrs. Aguilar, and Mrs. Wallace, start the meeting. Brother Marcus is making a report to the ladies on the negotiations at Douglas. The sisters are particularly interested in the progress being made on our health and welfare demands. The chair is open for new business. Mrs. Peña suggests that the ladies arrange a party for the children. Mrs. Ramirez makes a motion to that effect. The chair calls for a vote on the motion. It is unanimous. Next day, Mr. Salinas is drafted to make a piñata for the children's party. The morning of the party, the Union Sound truck drives throughout Clifton and Morenci inviting all the children to come to the party. The children had their own talent show. Brother Ortiz's children have a pretty good act, costume and all. Benny Armijo is taking after his old man, wears his union button over his heart. Bet these boys wish now that they had practiced. Brother Ramirez is pretty proud of his little boy and carries him where he can see everyone and everyone can see him. Kids of all sizes came. Now it's time for the refreshments, which were contributed by Clifton businessmen. No one was bashful in getting all the Coke and ice cream they could hold. There were lollipops for the babies, but some wanted ice cream. And some even had Coke. Well, you got fair warning. All the teenagers came too. Some of them were more interested in each other than in the general pandemonium. Coke and ice cream were flowing so thick, we decided not to pull down the piñata. So we'll save it for another party. Young and old, they were all welcome at the party. The old-timers came too with their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Mrs. Montoya's Linda is all dressed up, pretty but shy. There's a couple of show-offs. That's a flirt if you ever saw one. Yeah, she's dancing the mambo. Mary Peña's found a new way to use union buttons. Now we know where all those organized buttons went. The party was a great success. The kids had a wonderful time, and so did we. The strike steering committee meets every day during the strike. The workers are getting notices from the Morenci Water and Electric Company that they must pay their bills or their utilities will be shut off. Brother Estrada suggests we send a delegation to the power company. And Brother Coronado wonders how effective this will be. Mrs. Molinar says we'll never know if we don't try, and moves that we vote on it. Like at all my mill meetings, everybody expresses their real feelings on the question. Now we have a very efficient fire department in Clifton. This we owe to the progressive administration of our mayor, Brother Henry Marcus. The city has purchased the first piece of new equipment its fire department has had in 20 years. a brand new red fire engine. This is a chemical firefighter. This is the knob that activates the chemicals that smothers the flames. We hope we won't need to use it. At least some of us do. But it's there in case of fire. Mayor Marcus often burns the midnight oil. I guess all good city officials do. Tonight, Mr. Gomez has a problem. He wants to know why the alley behind his bar and grill has not been paved yet. Mayor Marcus unwinds the red tape and explains that the city street department plans to get to Gomez's back alley just as soon as they can. Mr. Gomez has been a good friend of Local 616. He donated a lot of that soda pop that kept us from pulling down the piñata and saved it for another kid's party. Even during strikes, people get married. The Ladies Auxiliary is glad to welcome Jenny Sierra now that she is married to Brother Jesus Escamillas. It is an old Mexican-American custom that all wedding dances begin with a grand march. This shows off the bride in all her glory, the groom in all his pride. Everybody, except the pickets on night duty, are at the dance. The men take turns on the line. Looks like a good game of casino is going on during this coffee break. Brother Garcia is adding a little joy with his guitar. Our picket lines are being manned around the clock. The company has tried before to slip scabs into the plant at night. Outside, they watch every car as it approaches.
Drawn out by us. Now, I want you to understand now that on this bargaining, we have to give and take. You probably know our whole package was up to 28 cents. That was our main demand. On the deadline before the strike, Friday morning at 5 o'clock, we had come down to...
The negotiating committee has called a special membership meeting to present the company's latest proposals. Vice President Brother Napo Gonzalez, Brother Mike Ross, International Representative. Brother David Velasquez, President. Recording Secretary Chris Lopez. Brother Molinar, member of the negotiating committee, is giving us a blow-by-blow account of a tough session with the company.
Question of health and welfare. But after discussing with the company for 2 hours, mind you, for 2 hours, going through their counter proposal on health and welfare, let me say this. For 2 hours on that hot room there, because we can't keep the coolers going because it's too noisy, we can't hear each other. Some of those men like to speak a little bit low so we can't hear them. We can't understand what they're saying. The only thing we got on Sundays, an improvement on health and welfare, was free penicillin shots. That's all. That's all. That's all we got out of that meeting on Sunday. Free penicillin shots. Penicillin shot probably cost them 4 cents a gallon. Wouldn't even amount to a quarter of a cent. But The definition of dependence, we're losing, brothers, on this. Because as it is now, you understand that here in Morenci and other places we have a wide definition of dependence.
All of our meetings are conducted in both English and Spanish.
Seguir con esta lucha y ganaremos lo que estamos peleando. We now have another member of the negotiating committee, a representative from the International that's been with our negotiating committee.
He said that 9 cars of blister copper from Texas arrived up in the Laurel Hill plant yesterday, and that since they'd had experience before, those plants are shut down. They're not sure where they're from. They don't know whether they started from down there before the strike. They refused to work these 9 cars. They left the job. The committee went down to the railroad yards, but the railroad officials said they had instructions from PD not to give them any information where the shipment originated from or the date that it left. And that local in New York took the position then that they would refuse to work those 9 cars, and he said they've been sitting in the yard now for over 24 hours. So that we can see the unity that this strike has created amongst locals that have formerly fought each other and had differences and so forth. I haven't heard the report, but many of you probably have. Someone told me that Phelps Dodge Corporation, since late this afternoon, has been playing sweet music on the Clifton radio station again. And that they've been playing the old tune of what a big offer they've put out now and what bad boys we are because we don't accept it and run back to work and so forth. Now, I want to go over this stuff, and I want to put figures up here on the board so that there's no question in anybody's mind about this stuff that's been offered. I want to tell you everything that the company told us so that you can make up your own mind. In wages, this is all in cents per hour, not dollars. This is cents and then pieces of cents. This is 11.5 cents in across-the-board wage increase. Nobody will get less than 11.5 cents. In spread on wages, 1.74. They say that the spread is worth 1 3/4 cents an hour. Any way you shake it. In our jurisdiction, there isn't a chance in the world of it being worth 1 3/4.
Brother Ross analyzes the company's offer on wages and the spread between wage rates in various classifications. Sister Marcus reports that if we continue with the strike, the ladies' auxiliary is willing to continue in the kitchen. A motion has been made and seconded that we accept the recommendation of the negotiating committee, that we reject the company's offer and continue with the strike. The President calls for a vote on the motion to turn down Phelps Dodge offer and continue with the strike. Local 616 votes unanimously to continue the strike. We hadn't yet learned the results of similar PD local meetings taking place in Douglas and Bisbee. As it turned out, the brothers in these locals also voted unanimously to continue the strike. We all knew that we could get a better offer from Phelps Dodge if we could just hold out. And we did. The strike lasted only 4 days after this meeting. The company was convinced by our determination that the only way to get us back to mining, milling, and smelting copper was to settle the strike by agreeing to a decent wage increase and yielding to our pressing need for a health and welfare plan. Our mine mill brothers throughout the Southwest and in other parts of the country, won many gains through their solidarity and the unity that they achieved with other unions. The children of Morenci and Clifton and throughout Greenlee County are getting better care because of the 4 weeks that we walk the picket lines. I guess all children mean the future to their parents. I know that we want a better future for our children, even if we have to strike to get it.
The union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. In our hands is placed a power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of atoms, magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong.